Welcome back to Kids Planning. I'm Peyton.
And I'm Jared.
And today we're going to teach you how to play Silver! Werewolves are taking over your village and it's your job to get them out.
Silver is a hand management card game for 1 to 4 players from Bezier games that involves some memory, some strategy,
and a little bit of luck. Right now there's 4 different Silver games. Silver Amulet, Bullet, Coin, and Dagger.
Each game has their own unique set of characters and a special token that adds a unique ability, but all of the Silver games have the same basic rules. So in this video, we're going to use Silver Amulet to teach the basic gameplay that's the same in all the games.
And at the end, we'll teach you the differences between all the games. The game has cards numbered from 0 to 13. The numbers on the cards represent werewolves, and you're trying to get rid of werewolves.
So you want to try to get rid of the high cards and get low cards in your village, but here's the hard part. You don't get to look at most of your cards.
Cards do 2 things. They all have a number on top. That's how much they add to your score if they're in your village at the end of the round, and you want the lowest score. Then they have an action at the bottom. The higher the number, the stronger the villager's ability, but also the more points it adds.
Everyone starts the game with 5 face-down cards, which is your village. The cards have icons at the bottom to tell you how they work. Cards with this icon have an ability when they're face up in your village. Cards with this icon let you use an ability when you draw them and immediately discard them. And this card lets you use its ability when you discard it from your hand. All of your cards will start face down, but during the game, you'll be able to get cards face up from either taking them from the discard pile or if a card ability tells you to, like the 6. It says turn any 1 card face up. But it doesn't say 1 card in my village, so I could turn up another player's card if I wanted to. Each game comes with a detailed card reference guide in case you get confused, so don't feel like you need to know what all the cards do before you play.
Just jump in and start playing. If you ever get confused, just look at the reference guide. To set up the game, shuffle the deck and deal 5 cards to each player.
No matter how many people are playing, you always deal 4 sets of cards and then remove the unused sets. But you will shuffle them back into the deck for the next round.
Then everyone puts their cards in a row without looking at them.
Put the rest of the deck face down in the middle of the table and turn the top card face up next to the deck. This is the discard pile. Then pick a first player and give them the token. In this case, it's the amulet.
Now everyone can pick 2 cards, but only 2 cards to look at secretly. You don't get to know what the rest of your cards are.
After this, the only way you'll know what your cards are is if an ability lets you look or turn it face up, or if you exchange it with a card you draw. If you forget what one of your cards was, you cannot look at it again. That's where the memory comes in.
Now it's time to start playing. During your turn, you can do one of 3 things.
You can take a card from the deck, you can take a card from the discard pile, or you can call for a vote.
If you draw a card from the deck, you have 2 options.
You can swap it with one of your cards, or you can discard it. If you swap it, discard one of your cards and put the card you drew face down where the other card was. Anytime you swap a card from the draw pile, it goes face down. If you discard it, you can use its ability if it has one of these little card flip icons.
All the cards tell you what their abilities do.
So I draw a 9. Its ability is to look at any card on the table, so I discard it and use that ability.
And I draw a 3, so since it's a low card, I want to swap it with a high card in my village. So I would discard this one and put the 3 in its place, face down.
If you take a card from the discard pile, you have to swap it with one of the cards in your village, and you put it face up since it was already face up in the discard pile. Anytime you swap a card from the discard pile, it goes face up. If you take a card from the discard pile, you can use its face up ability when it's in your village, but you cannot take a card from the discard pile and discard it for its ability.
So I couldn't take this discard 9 and use it to look at a card. When you're exchanging cards, you don't get to look at the cards in your village first.
You may know what it is because another card let you look at it, or it was one of the 2 cards you checked at the beginning, but you don't get to check it before you exchange it. Now, when you draw a card and exchange it with one of your cards, there is a way to get rid of multiple cards at once.
You can do this by exchanging multiple cards that match.
So I draw this 3, and I know that these 2 are 10s. So I can push both of these forward and then flip them over to make sure they're 10s, and then I can put the 3 in its place and discard the 10s. You can get rid of as many cards as you want this way, as long as they match. So if I have 3 10s, or even 4, I could discard them all at once. But if you're wrong, you put all your cards back face down, and you add the card you drew to the end of your village. Face down if it was from the draw pile, and face up if it was from the discard pile. If you try to get rid of 3 or more cards this way and you're wrong and they don't match, you have to draw an extra card and add it to your village face down.
During your turn, don't forget to check your face-up cards for abilities you might want to use. Now let's talk about calling for a vote.
If you have 4 or fewer cards in your village and you think you have the lowest score, you can call for a vote on your turn. Everyone else gets one more turn, then everyone shows their cards and adds up their score. Once you call for a vote, you don't get to do anything else, and calling for a vote is the only thing you can do on your turn.
The round also ends if the last card is drawn and nobody has called for a vote yet.
So on your turn, you can do one of those 3 actions. Draw a card, take a card from the discard pile, or call for a vote. Then play goes clockwise around the table until the round ends. Then it's time to score.
To score, add up all the numbers on your cards.
And be sure to check and see if any abilities on your cards affect your score. If you called for a vote and you do not have the lowest score, then you get the sum of all of your cards plus 10 extra points. But if you call for a vote and you do have the lowest score, then you get 0 points and a special token for the next round. Then shuffle all the cards, including any you set aside at the beginning of the round. Deal out 4 sets of 5 and start the next round. The player with the lowest score in the previous round goes first.
The game lasts 4 rounds, and you add all your points from each round to your total score. Whoever has the least points at the end of the game wins.
Now let's talk about the different tokens: the amulet, the bullet, the coin, and the dagger. In the first round, all of the tokens go next to the draw and discard pile in front of whoever you chose to be the starting player, and in the first round, it's just a first player marker. After each round, the token will go in front of the player who had the lowest score in the last round, but you only get to use the token if you successfully called for a vote in the previous round, meaning you called for a vote and you had the lowest score. If nobody successfully called for a vote, it just goes next to the draw pile on the side of the person who had the lowest score in the previous round to mark the starting player. If you successfully called for a vote in the last round, take the token and pull it in front of you for the round. You will now get to use it one time in that round.
Now let's talk about what the tokens do. For the amulet, once per round you can put it on one of your cards.
That card can't be moved or viewed by anybody, including you, until the end of the round. Then it's scored like normal. If you put the amulet on a face-up card, you can still use that card's ability.
And for the bullet, you can put it on one of your cards and that card can't be moved or viewed by anybody.
But at the end of the round, the card with the bullet on it is not scored. If the bullet card is face up, the bullet deactivates its ability. Also, the card with the bullet on it does not count toward your card count when you're determining if you can call for a vote. So you could technically call for a vote with 5 cards if one card has a bullet on it.
For the coin, you can flip over the coin and one of your cards in your village, but that card isn't protected. It's just a normal face-up card.
And the dagger shows the direction of play. At the start of the round, the dagger should always point to the left, showing play goes clockwise. If a card reverses the direction of play, turn the dagger to show the new direction. If you have the dagger because you successfully called for a vote in the last round, then you get to turn the dagger and change the direction of play once in that round. And remember, at the beginning of each round, the token goes in front of the player who had the lowest score in the previous round. If they had the lowest score and they were the one who called for a vote, they get to use its ability once per round.
And that's over. If you have any questions or if you have a game you want us to teach, leave us a comment. Thanks for watching.
And be sure to subscribe right here
And watch some of our other videos over here.
See you later.
Bye!